betting because if he has one club, I can certainly lose. I have to know this. I do know this, right? So I have to keep betting. He could have a club. Again, we're going to presume that the other guy is smart and good. And we'll see here. So I'm going to just check. Right. And so we can't step. So, I could have bet there. He hasn't bet. Maybe he had set a trap to see whether or not he had clubs, and flopped a flush. In which case, this insult here is just out of line. I mean, I don't know. I don't insult others, to be candid with you, because, other people have different ways of looking at it, etc., and maybe he knows, maybe he's seen me play and remembers and, thinks I'm bad, that kind of thing. Not not surprisingly, you're going to be seeing things like this, right, all the time. You know, so I'm a bond options trader. Originally when I came out of graduate school, I went to the University of Chicago got my MBA. And if you look on the global rankings of such programs, you won't have to go very far down the list in order to find a booth. But the point is that we are looking at payouts. We are paying taxes, as you can see here, and this is a very common, very, very commonly seen options payout diagram. Well, tell me how different this is than betting the pot with some probability of winning, but then to measure, to make some estimates about what these payouts and what these angles are. So if you're a poker jock out there, you're measuring this all the time, right? Live, adjusting. Your probability of getting this angle is changing, right? Maybe it's changing just purely because of the strength of your own hand, where you're located relative to the dealer button, etc., etc. And I'm the poker jocks. Please don't make fun of me in the sense that I'm trying to water this down for the persons that are our financial audience, right? Because what ends up happening is the terms that I'm using here in poker speak are silly, trivial, right? I've watered it down to such a degree. Well, in the same way, right? Financial matters seem like a mystery to many, but the reality is that what you have is a bunch of jargon, and the jargon, can easily be translated to this exercise here. We're going to get into, if I survive, we'll get, deeper into the weeds. So we're just starting out here, right? And this is to be totally regarded. I have no idea what the payout structure is and stuff like that. And any of this, I didn't come here with expectations of, of winning or any of that kind of stuff. There's so much randomness involved. There's randomness involved, but of course, that's the popularity of poker, right? Which is that while these other players are certainly going to be more experienced than I, there's no doubt about that, right? They're going to have studied something called game theory optimal or exploitative, et cetera, this, that, and the other, take your pick. But ultimately, this is to try to exploit this diagram here on the left. And, I flattened it out here because the reality is, and listen, is anything going on? Not really, right? It's still early. It's so early. And since I don't know how long I'm going to survive, I'm going to spew out as many of the principles here on these likenesses as I possibly can. Let's hope that the thing actually is working. Who even knows? I'm a busy person, right? And I've got scheduled here. Why are we just scheduled and not actually going and not actually streaming? I have no idea. I'm gonna have to fold here because I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on. I have no idea. One meeting scheduled. Why are we not going? Huh. I think we are going. Okay. Are we in fact going? Let's just see here. I'm on 5 minute delay. Because if he has one club, I can certainly lose. I have to know this. I do know this, right? So I have to keep betting. Ah, so it was on 5 minute delay and stuff like that, and it did actually work. So, you know, due to my incompetence in streaming technology and stuff like that, what we have here is, this is a live bracelet event. $500 or something like that is the actual entry fee, of which I did not pay because I qualified in. And that's basically what happens when people who are inexperienced play. Let's just see if I can try to. Let's see if I can move it down here under the overlay. Ah, what do you know? But nah. So what actually happens is that, you know, right. Normally when I'm making videos, I'm making instructional videos about personal finance matter, financial markets matter, financial planning matters, you know, ridiculing a, be sure, I've got to say this. I'm going to say this like 9,000 times, turn down the sound, right? Which is this stuff over here. This stuff is free by for the most part. I am the author, published author of Maximize Your Medicare. So if you type in my name and you type in Medicare on Google, you will see only about, I don't know, 500 quotes in the national media, give or take. I'm the regularly appearing guest on thestreet.com, which is Jim Cramer's website on the retirement planning portion. And I realized that I've been talking to myself for a lot of the last 10 minutes or something like that. So how long have I been streaming? 12 minutes. No, not too bad. So, because I didn't realize about the delay and all, I don't know how this works. I know how to set the delay, but I did not know how to, whether or not it is actually working. Today, I talked for 90 minutes in a row to find out that the sound that my microphone is shut off for the last 15 minutes. So I had to re-record it while I was, I spliced it out and cut it into 2 parts. So I'm not paying too much attention. I'm probably, I am much different than others. There are nuances here that I would not know. Right? I'm sure that these players have played against each other. I'm sure of it. Right? There's only 77 people in this tournament. That's not very many. Right? Clearly, right? And the barrier to entry here is high. So what can we glean from that? What we can glean is that, other players are going to be on average better than I. I would not consider myself to be the average player here. No. So this is a terrible position. This person is bet. It doesn't even matter, right? We fold. We fold. What I'm also going to do is, while we're here, so, I sit down, I don't say much. I'm looking at my phone because I'm working or thinking about work or that kind of thing. Sending texts and response emails to clients and stuff. At crazy hours of the day, we have clients, in Hawaii, in Alaska, South Beach, you name it, Maine. Hello to Maine. And, obviously California. Anyway, the point is that, I'm sure these players know each other online by their online names. Like there can be no doubt. Of course, in poker, the beauty of poker is the allure is that while we know that this stuff exists, right? We know this stuff exists. Absolutely. So I have to raise here again. So this is one of the strongest hands in poker, of course. And I'm going to switch us so that you can see everything. Try to work on it in a little bit here. But I want to see what happens in this hand first. So unless this person has two clubs, I'm very likely to have the best hand. Very likely. And the issue is that, when this stuff is this low, and I'm going to have to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the settings so that we can see in big blind space. This is marginal here. I'm sure that's on someone's grid that, if I were in trouble, that this is possibly a hand that people would bet close. That's my close. Not at this point in time. No point. This one in the back on all tournament tables. Let's just do it this way and apply. Okay, this is better. Okay, so the poker jocks are going to be not actually counting chips, but this thing called big blinds. And that big blind is this number over here for persons who are not familiar with poker. Yes, I know to you poker jocks that I'm speaking like, not even poker 101. I get it. But you have to understand that most of my following is about people who think that, healthcare is the same thing as health insurance, which it is not. Don't get me started. I'll have to last 75 levels here or something like that so I can I'd put it to you this way. Right? People who think that poker isn't about math and probability are the same people who think that healthcare is the same thing as health insurance. That's the same thing. In fact, on Jay's Corner, which is the name of this channel, you'll see me actually talking about Tice versus Perkins, where I'm actually drawing that exact comparison, which is that people draw the wrong conclusions entirely. Another good hand here. I don't actually like, So I've read enough, right? I've read enough. So like I said, I'm not these people who are professionals, but I'm observant enough to know this is what other players do. Now, I'm a little worried here because small blind. This person calls, obviously, a hand. I'm just going to call one and see what happens. I've got combinations which work better. We got backdoor combinations, and there it is. Right? So now someone's got a problem against me. I've got the best pair. Right? I've got the best pair. And I've got a very good second card, the kicker. Somebody have spades, so I'm going to have to try to get them away from their spades. So I've just bet. Now this person could raise here, this aggressive person. Okay. That's not a very good card because Queen 10 now has gotten there. Right? Queen 10 has gotten there, right? So this is a problem for me. But I have to keep betting. He could raise here, but he doesn't. Yeah. Right? Again, I think that one of the things is that what you see here is the fact that, you know, I'm not in the camp. Yeah. Let me do this. I'm still going to fold this here. This isn't great for aesthetics. I get it, right? I don't know how to crop this. If anybody knows how to crop, I'd be ecstatic to have someone tell me. I'm sure there's like some button to hit control and stuff like that and crop this out and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, I am bad at many things. One of those many things is I am bad at, you know, knowing what to do here. I know how to fold. So, you know, let's do a little bit of concentrating over here. So I have 381 blinds. You can see, you know, my positions over here. You know, I've seen other persons play and online. If you look on YouTube, I think there's something like 300 poker channels, which is like all sorts of crazy. But it's a global thing, right? Anyway, let's go back here. And this is my point, right? Right, I'm looking for combinations. And how's that different than here? Well, you know, you can see it here. This is just like really fundamentally not that different from Game Tree. Where's my book? Do I have it? Yeah, I'm going to get it for you. All right. Everybody read this book. I'm not kidding you. You know, I'm not nearly smart enough to have read this book, to have written this book, right? This is The Signal and the Noise. And by the way, not coincidentally, the book is written by a person who plays high stakes poker. And in fact, you know, I want to say he was the guest of Doug Polk's on a podcast, right? Known to be. Unfortunately, he went to Michigan State. That's, you know, I won't hold that against him. He went to the University of Chicago to get his PhD in math, which makes him like, you know, only about 75 light years higher IQ and, you know, accomplishment than I. He runs 538, right? 538.com, which is, you know, kind of like the mathematically based predictive and studying of, you know, social stuff. There's also, you know, sports outcomes that, you know, they are predicting the probability of winning championships and stuff like that. I want to say that they had the Warriors. I want to say they had the Warriors. Yeah. So I don't have too much of an opinion here. We're just kind of like taking it as we go. Right? Because, you know, back to the allure of poker, of course, right? Even though we are looking at these diagrams, right, and payout structures, there's no question. I mean, that's undisputed. Right? I mean, to people who are looking at it, they're like, okay, Jay, you're like a simpleton. You know, when it comes to this exercise we're seeing on this screen, you know, you'd be right. Right? I'm not studied in all the grids and pre-flop grids and this, that, and the other. And, you know, I don't subscribe to these, you know, subscription services that people are studying thousands of hours and, you know, a million hands. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating here, right? That exists. That's not me. But that said, this knowledge about this, from a professional point of view, allows me to be sensitive to how the poker jocks are doing it, how they're studying it, right? In the same way for financial matters, and now we're going to get to my message and why I'm having this stream, right, is that in the same way that I'm not a professional poker player, but adopting these, right, just as a simple example, right, just as a simple example that you can see how I would apply this, right, and how I would attach these probabilities of what could happen, and then financial outcome, and then back to here, because ultimately you are always here. And this is, you know, this is the don't get married to a hand, right? You have pocket aces. You don't get married to it. There are three of the same suit. You could see the hand, the first, meaningful hand that I played here, right? Which is that I played aces versus queens. I couldn't go gung ho over there because there were three of the same suit. You can't get married to it because once you get extra information, you are ultimately back to the red arrow. How's that any different? Seriously, how's that any different? It's not different whatsoever. So King 10, but I'm in the right position. I do get to control the action. So as a result, I'm going to call. And I think it's fairly straightforward. That said, if somebody's like massively overbets from this spot here, I'm going to have to pay that some respect and think about it. Again, I don't have the data on these persons. I'm not a professional sitting there writing down, and there's software to examine other players. So now this person's in a bad spot, right? He better have a very, very good king. 9-10. He can't play around. Even if it's a 9, I've got a 10. I'm gonna, play it a little slower here just for kicks and see what happens on this next card. Yeah. So now I've got him in a terrible spot. Right? What am I folding to? Well, if he has Jack 9, I'm gonna lose. Right? I mean, I lose. But I'm gonna raise him here and just see what happens. Right? Because I've got to protect my hand. I'm ahead. I think I'm ahead. He could have Jack 9. Does he call it? Does he bet Jack 9? Jack 9 suited, Jack 9 of spades, maybe. 2 spades, spade draw, absolutely positively. That's why I have to raise. So I just call. And this is like the most terrible card ever, right? Because now I lose to any 9, any queen. Queen 9, I lose. No, but I'm still calling here. So, yeah. I've lost, he has 3 8s. Everything makes sense, right? 100% makes sense. So I would have lost the hand. It would have been really hard to get away from 2 pair. I could have gotten away because I would have lost to a 9. That's possible. Fair enough. Right? I would have lost to a 9. I think it was right. Queen? Can't remember. My memory's not very good. So he's not having a good time either. He's called a, so I mean, my hand's too strong, so I have to call. He's got to be careful, right? Because I could have a 10 here. Ace 10 I could certainly have. So I'm going to check. And we'll see what, Of course, I want to see a jack. Jack, spade, queen, king. So, I would not really folding here unless he like massively, represented the as a 10, which he could still have. Okay, so this isn't a good card here. So, neither of us have too much, it appears. He's got to tread carefully. He remembers aces versus queens. Of course he does. Yeah. He can bet here. I'm going to have to fold, I think. 9, 10. Weak 10, weak 9, ace 9, ace 10, jack 10. Yeah. I still could be certainly good here. So, the poker pros, the poker jocks out there are going to say, this is a call. Certainly this can be a call. I'm going to fold because, because I'm bad. You know, could I see them on a set? Or could I, as and that has to do with experience, right? Which is that you know their experience, but the idea that someone is, but certainly that could be the line for a set of eights. Yeah. So it make perfect sense. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. Somebody who's better than I may have a very very different opinion about calling the river, for a big amount. He also had to be careful, right? Because I could have had the straight. That would have been a problem for him. How long have we been on? We've been on for 30 minutes. My head's ringing because I don't play this kind of. I don't play like this, much less talk like this an hour in a row, right? This is people who know me. I don't really love to talk. I have to talk all week. I have to talk all week to people and try to explain them, you know, what happens when they turn 65, et cetera, et cetera. Or, you know, have they signed up to stuff? Um, you know, we're going to get into that hopefully, in a little bit here. I'm not sure. People are human, and so that has to do with emotion, right? And this is kind of why I have this graph up here, right? Because you're still ultimately back at the red line, at the red arrow. You know, I'm sitting there telling persons this, all the time, yet I called, wrongly without without fully taking into account that could have been a set. Could have been set of tens and kings, really, right? Because I had 10, 10, and king, but it could have been a set of eights. Yep, absolutely, I missed it. That all said, I would have also said that someone flops a set on you, you're in a world of hurt. You are in a world of hurt. That person gets to dictate the betting and the caginess of the entire exercise from that point, and gets to play any path. They get to play and this is kind of my point, right? They get to play any path here when they're that far in the lead. He would not have been happy with a king or a 10 on the river, right? Because then he would have had eights full. I would have had kings or tens full. In which case, I would have double the amount of chips. But you know, I don't know how to do any of that. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So I have what 215 blinds. I'm 74th out of 86. It's still early and stuff like that. I'm gonna move. Uh, you know, let's just see. Yeah, there we go. I left it up there. Let's see, it's up there now. So I'm psychobabbling here about personal financial matters, right? But uh, you know, here's another very, very, very similar thing to what goes on in poker, right? I mean, you can see me fold, 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 fold. You want to know where else where you're fold, 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 folding? I'll show you where else. Right here. The market, the world does not always have financial opportunities. This is my Thinkorswim. We'll talk about what I think here. Back to the channel, everyone. Jay's Corner, which is the YouTube channel, right? Because the entirety about the way that what happens is financial market. So financial markets are my original home, right? As I said at the beginning of the stream, I'm bond options trader first. Okay, and so first we'll need to pay attention to this hand. I'm going to have to raise here. I can't imagine not raising out of this particular position here. This could be the shortest stream ever. This could be a short, short, short stream. We'll have to see. Not great, because this person's going to put me in a tough spot here. Let's just see. So if he could have two pair here, right? Inside here is a two pair. I needed a heart or an ace or a king. I think I have to fold. I'm going to end up folding here. He's going to bet. I'm going to have to fold. It's a notable disadvantage here. I have no idea what happened there. If he's got a hand at all, he's going to raise. Could have jacks, something lower than a queen. Yeah. That's why I have to bet, right? I can't have showdown. I couldn't let all the cards flip without a bet. And the reason is that if he has a pair of sevens, I lose. So he's trying to keep away from me having the best two pair with ace kicker or something like that. Not ace king, not ace queen's unlikely, but I could have had queen jack there very easily, right? Or queen king, more quite specifically, right? Or I could have had tens. He has sevens, something like that. So, how is that really fundamentally different than thinking through these combinations? It's just not that different. I mean, not for me, right? I'm not thinking about this guy's better, that guy's luckier, or this, that, the other. I'm thinking to myself, okay, what are these possible combinations? And when I talk about combinations, if you go onto poker to actual poker vlogs, right? by actual poker players. They're talking about, combinatorics or this, that, or the other and making up other jargon. Yeah, guess what? People like me make up stuff. Oh, Monte Carlo simulation, survivability of portfolios, deductible, out of pocket maximum, co-pay, co-insurance. These just have to do with the different ways of the payment structures. Right? It's just not different. Just isn't. What is different, and this is why I'm put up. And actually, the candid reality is that I'm hoping that poker players are watching. I'm not hoping that you know cl- financial planning clients are watching. I'm hoping that poker players are watching because you're in an age division generally where what I'm talking about here. You know that I have a very, very watered down. I'm going to have to do something here because I cannot let these other persons just kind of hang out. Like I said, we have experienced people around here, and you can see the experience, right? This you inexperienced player would not fold there, right? They don't want to take the chance that I'm sitting in the right spot. I could either have a huge hand or I'm just using position. Either way, you know, you're just knowing and noticing small little things. Look how refined and different this is. And this is what I'm saying is that I've got this like I said, I was like this video about Landon Tice and Phil Perkins, the showdown. That happened. What was that? A year ago? Is it 2 years ago now? God. The margins are so thin, so thin. I'll show you thin. We'll get to it. So, as you can tell from today's video, from what I've said so far, right? Which is that, you know, misnomers and stuff like that are not good. It's not a good idea to have a bunch of misnomers in the world. Overgeneralizations over this, that, and the other. And what ends up happening is you get down the wrong track, you get on the wrong starting point, and now all of a sudden you let, you know, some Kool-Aid dispensary start trying to give you sales talking off the track. Nah, I had no interest in this. I was hoping to get away with just a small raise and then to see a flop, but I don't really have any interest in this out of position. They say, ooh, come and look at the cards, and I'm sure more disciplined people never look, but all right. So this is I'm gonna show you this. Just give me a second here. Oh, no, I'm gonna start typing away here and start showing you some other stuff. I know this is ugly because of this and the overlay and this kind of other thing. It's because of the fact that, number one, I never stream videos, so I don't, or poker. So as a result, I'm not sure about the sizes and all that kind of good stuff. So as a result, that was really for, the internet and me going and showing persons all of the distortions on the internet and then advertisements, this, that, and the other. What I did not plan on was I did not plan on having a, you know, I did not plan on getting any good hands. Instead, I've actually had to think a little bit there, right? I lost this big hand to the person to my right. What's this? Binge? Bing? Yeah, I'm just beat. And that's going to happen, right? In other words, over here, like I said, this lattice over here is kind of a very good, and this is that, in poker players say, don't get married to a hand. Yeah, there's your answer right there. This lattice here didn't come from me describing poker at all. What it had to do with was, oh yeah, by the way, do you know that consolidated 401ks are minus 18% year to date by the best in the world? Best in the world are minus 17.75% down. Best in the world. Nevertheless, if you don't think it can't keep going down, think about the lattice, think about your poker hands. You're running bad, then what? Oh, it's got to come back the next hand? Oh, really? Nah. And this is what I'm saying is that, my point here and the reason for having a poker vlog or having this live stream on, but actually as part of my channel here is you can see it, is that people are better than me at this game, which is a probability, who's based in probability, changing facts and changing probabilities and changing payouts. But yet, then when it comes to financial markets, you throw away everything that you know and that you're expert at. And what do? You apply some other set of logic. How is that possible? It's because what ends up happening is, you went to McDonald's and listened to some people stand in line and complain about, well, the insurance company ripped me off. What? The insurance company is so highly regulated, it's not even funny. It's just like, people lose their minds when they don't understand the jargon. Instead, if they had just seen and just simply had the translation to what real life looks like and how it attaches, then it shrugged their shoulder. I can tell you, I didn't need, and I said this, I've said this in newsletters in the past, right? Which is that, what was I going to tell Farmer Fred about the real world? Seriously. He's lived, this person who's no longer here on the planet, right? He's a farmer. What am I going to tell him about real life? He has seen 20% interest rates. He's seen all of his neighbor farmers go bankrupt. He's seen weather changing around like crazy. Right? Yeah. one of the fans, one of the followers, loyal follower, how are you today, is talking about backgammon chess. And this is a very important thing. This is actually an important distinction, right? Because you could say that chess looks like this, right? You're thinking about positioning and this, that, and the other. I know nothing about chess, right? I mean, I know how the pieces move. That's about it. But here, there are only 52 cards. And to actual mathematicians, right, 52, and we talk about all these combinations, and you sit around a table and say, well, anything can happen. Not really, because you're still limited by 52. So while it may look like unlimited number of outcomes, it's actually limited. In the real world, that's limited. In chess, I guess it's limited as well, except for the players have the pieces have different, capabilities. That's kind of a difference, right? And number one, and number two is because there are so many moves, right? The difference here in outcomes vary so wildly that that's why I'm actually playing here today, or even have a chance today, right? Even though I would admit to you that I'm not going to be the average player here. I don't think so. I wouldn't. Logic tells you I shouldn't be, right? Because I don't know what people do. I have better things to do with 500 actual dollars. Are you kidding? Right, then sit around here and click on a video game for real amounts of money. That doesn't sound like a very good idea when I already admit that my skill level, and as I even pointed out, right, over here, played pretty carefully. And you could see over here, also played carefully, even though had 3 8s, flopped 3 8s. Right. And you can see, I'm sitting here talking about personal finance and the similarities between that and poker. Well, the issue with chess is, the reality is you're not beating a grandmaster. Right? Let's agree on that, right? Which is that, oh, well, that's a game of strategy and stuff like that. No. Don't kid yourself, right? The difference is I can win a hand against a professional poker player. I can't, because the number of outcomes is limited, and the incidents are just 3 community cards and then 2 more. You don't get to shortcut all of that stuff when it comes to chess. No chance, right? So as a result, you won't see person who barely knows the rules, beating a person at chess. That is not going to be happening. All right, so we're on break. What I'm going to do here is let's just take a look over here. Let's see if to people who follow the channel, originally for financial planning matters, they're going to be very unsurprised with what's going to appear on the channel, right? Because, right here it is. This is the one that this is my favorite video here, which happens to be about poker, which is kind of like the Landon Tice Perkins matter and my thought on it. We'll go to there, and I'm going to be back within a few minutes. Wonder if any of this stuff is working. Here is that people get in this regarding financial matters all the time. They miscalculate. They underestimate something. They didn't understand the implications of the structure. You could be an expert in your field. During this video, you may have forgotten more math than I have ever learned throughout my lifetime. Let's not throw away the logic, the knowledge, your experience that you have. Just because the topic is different doesn't mean that the logic, the rationale, the way to think through matters changes. People make mistakes. You're hit with false narratives. There's happy talk everywhere.
In either case, you have to go back to 1980 to find a year where stocks were down double digits and bonds were down worse. There has been no place to hide other than cash. Even a 5-year treasury, you got slaughtered on duration. And in that kind of environment, you have to learn technicals. Like you can't be one of these people that comes on in January, February, March, arguing with me, telling me, oh, this is a great company. Yeah, we all understand that, but the stock is for sale 4 out of 5 days. And then we have these green days where the Dow goes up 800 points, and everybody forgets you're in a downtrend. You're in a bear market in the NASDAQ. You're in a statistical downtrend in the S&P as of right now. We're going to finish this month, as I told you, below the 10-month moving average for the first time in a long time. This is not an environment that's rewarding fundamental happy talk about how great the management is or how innovative the software is. Nobody cares. Stocks are for sale. That's not going to continue indefinitely. And by the way, the money has to go somewhere. So you're not going to have bonds and stocks continue to lose day after day. But you have to understand the environment you're in before you start worrying about, was this a good or bad earnings quarter? Nobody cares.
The financial press is dominated about talk of the numerator. On this simple calculation, in this picture, everyone's focused on the numerator with very, very little attention on the denominator, even though the denominator is far bigger, far more important, influenced by parties much, much, much bigger than anyone who's talking about the numerator. In fact, that was never the reality. It just so happened to be that the new denominator, interest rates, were stable and lower. One-way train for decades.
If you had a good quarter, your stock's down 5%. If you had a neutral quarter, your stock's down 12. And if you had a really bad quarter, you're down 40. That's the environment you're in.
We can change the topic. Life insurance, annuity, dental insurance, portfolio strategy. The same exercise happens over and over. People misunderstand from the beginning. People misunderstand the structure. Brandon Tice did the right thing. He adjusted once he realized he misunderstood. It may seem like I'm offering specific financial advice. I'm not. Instead, the information there on the channel is so that you can use what you have, use your common sense, so you can help cut through the noise and then be able to make a sound financial decision. Now, that's not the same as executing, which is an entirely different thing. For that, there's professional services. But before you even get to that point, it's best to have questions from a sound basis of knowledge so that you can separate the signal from the noise. And there's a lot of noise.
Attenborough with a raise, ace-jack suited.
And he's still just deep enough to be able to go the 3-bet route.
23. And he does just that. 23 million.
Fear and greed are
King
powerful
eight
indeed.
off in the small blind. Back to
The problem here
Attenborough
is that
now.
is that I'm outmatched.
Yeah,
Right?
32
And
big
so
blinds deep
as
with
a
Dweck.
result,
It's
at
gonna
some
take
point,
a
I'm
flop in
going to
position.
realize
Yeah, you
that,
don't love that.
You expect
you know,
the frisky.
I'm gonna
It's
have
the
to end
frisky
up
with
taking
Squadouche.
risks.
The fun part.
that are not going to
Oh,
be.
he does check.
You're
that are
afraid to
gonna
get
be
blown off your equity,
what they,
for
what,
sure.
The
You're in
poker jocks
position.
are going to say is, well, you're bad, right? And part of that is is going to be ultimately, which I accept, right? Which means that over here, for people who don't play poker, you're here from the Personal Finance channel, that you're going to see the fact that they have this worked out, right? The professionals here, you saw this person over here fold when when I had queens, when the dealer button was here, I had queens, I raised. He didn't play. If this person didn't play, he's in very bad position. But this person also didn't play. You've got to take note of this. That that's pretty disciplined to just shut it down. So what we have here is where were we? So anyway, before, when I see these cards, these other players have different combinations worked out. Absolutely. And they're studying where they are relative to the button. How many chips they have. How many people are playing. Doesn't sound a lot like the same thing as gambling by, you know, picking picking one out of 38 spaces and a bouncing ball, does it? There's a reason they don't sound the same. They're not the same. They're not the same. Or no, you know, and what you basically see here is, you know, the distribution here is flat. That's what roulette is, flat, right? Because there's an equal chance at 38 spaces or 37 spaces, whatever it is. So, you know, I'm going to divert our attention over here at some point here. Let's just see. I wanted to take a peek here. Yeah. No, nothing surprising here. In that same way, in that very, very same way, I'm going to show you this. Let's just see this. Okay, so, you know, and so you can see it, right? On this combination, the chance of me winning with this particular combination of cards is almost zero. Right? So you're so far out here, it makes no sense to even part with a penny or a chip. In the same way, here, down over here in the lower left, just below my name, right? This is this Thinkorswim overnight financial markets situation. And, you know, when people are talking about, okay, well, where are markets going, blah, 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 and stuff that, you know, well, it's going higher, it's going lower, you know, probably. So what's happened here, you know, I have an ace. 9 is a fairly decent card. I'm not in a good position. It's this many people. But basically, it's 1.5 to get into 13.5, right? This one is gone, right? That's a sunk cost in personal finance terms. That money's gone. The question is 1.5 into 13 divided by 13.5 is high enough, is low enough for probability. I'll have to be lucky here, but we'll see. So no, I'm not lucky. So basically, I'm folding to anything. Right. I'm going to have no interest in this hand whatsoever. What if a club or an ace? Ace of clubs would be nice, of course. You know, that would be a very, you know, the best possible card for me. You know, of which is a probability of less than 2%. So we check. Right, we've got to think that 1, 2, 3, 4 players behind, all of which you have control, taking control, right? So this person has pretty big bet divided by pot, right? So as a result here, you can see people are betting, etc., calling, whatever it would be. I'm folding, of course. You know, that's slightly unfortunate, right? But I'm still probably no good, right? There could be ace of clubs, king of clubs, jack of clubs. So I'm just the 4th best, presuming a club on the as the last card on, which is called the river. In the same way, over here you're looking at financial markets, you know, and so for comprehensive financial planning, which is actually the heavy lifting of what I do, is I'm looking for combinations of financial facts that people face and their particular situation. How's that different than stack size depending on what my position relative to the button is? You see what I'm saying? It's not notably fundamentally different, right? I mean, it's actually more similar than it is different. Are there nuances to that? Yes. Hey, before when I found out I qualified, I'm like, oh, I was gonna like just have some, prepare food, and all of a sudden, oh no, I've got to go get fast food. So this is my, one of my major food groups, Diet Coke, highly recommended. Now, notably, we wanted on lots of aces. So you can remember, played KG here, a difficult hand against this person. My aces, this person's queens. How carefully we had to step. He didn't do anything foolish, overly aggressive. He survives. Man, this is so bad that I'm sure other, the poker jocks are saying, well, for half blind you probably pay, but nah. You pay a penny, you just get into trouble, and then all of a sudden you're not down half a blind, you're down like 30 big blinds. No, thank you. Anyway, much like the exercises we're looking at these hands and pass them by, right? How different is that than any single one of these numbers sitting over here? It's not different. It really isn't. It's just not that different. Poker enthusiasts are like, yeah, shut that boring stuff down. Right, so rather, you're thinking to yourself, okay, and now you can understand how different the circumstances, and as a result, what your position, what your actual financial strategy is. How's this different than your position relative to, the cutoff versus the small blind, and how much your stack is versus how much you can lose? So, directly related. And that's kind of here my point. Right, is that based on your particular situation here, given the fact that you're here at the red arrow, right, you're looking at the facts as presented over here differently. Because this number here, this is the NASDAQ, right? This is a NASDAQ futures market, trades almost 24/7, right? Trades all night. For example, during the weekday, is still ultimately here. And if you want to see, I'm gonna give you some during one of the other breaks. I'm going to show you another channel, and the other channel is going to show you what actual day traders do, like real day traders. And I'm not talking about the 60-second. I am not talking about 60 seconds on TikTok saying, hey, I made a bunch of money on, some punt. I'm not. Instead, what financial planning is about is to say, look, we have a particular financial situation. We know we get hurt under particular setups worse than others. Let's say you have 5 times my chips. Well, okay, maybe I would have called the 0.5 big blind. And maybe the other person had almost to the end and no chips. Right? It's pretty different. I'm not sure. No. Oops. That wouldn't have been good, would it? You can see here in this position, almost no one has lost here. So this isn't very good. You can remember we've got a history with that person who we're going to presume is good / very good. I still could be good if nobody has a pair, right? He could bet. I'm going to have to fold even though I have an ace. What am I going to have? What am I going to hit? Yeah. Any ace, any 10, huh? Anything other than that I have to fold? Now, what if he has diamonds? We wanted to have an ace. We didn't really want him to have diamonds. Then again, if he had big diamonds, etc., he probably... This exposes me, right? Because he could raise here. He probably doesn't, but he could. So, this is still ultimately competitive, right? So, like I said, I don't play often enough to know names and who they are and this, that, and the other, right? I'm pretty sure, however, this person's pretty experienced. The philosopher. Maybe it's just because he's got a sophisticated name. Unlike mine. So on we go. The reality is that if you told me after an hour and 13 minutes, that I'm 53rd out of 124th, I'd probably say that's probably slightly above expectation. Right? In other words, I'm not sitting here telling you that I'm God's gift to probability in this entire, combination function, etc., etc. I'm certainly not studied on this exercise here. As much as others, right? No way, impossible. Right? I hope for their sake, to be candid, that they don't call themselves professionals and then. So everybody has bad hands, and so you can see what ends up happening is that I'm pretty early, and then I immediately start betting. Experienced players go, okay, this person has a good hand. Their presumption about their hand now has changed. So you can understand what has happened, right? And what's good about this type of tournament, right? You can see it. $500 is the buy-in. You can see it up at the top. You can't see it at the top, can you? It's a $500 entry. Right, so what do you know? Somebody has $500 to use on poker, my God. Right, I qualified in. I have $500. I'm not entering $500, not with my own money. So zero. Professional poker players, well, they'll do this. If they lose all their chips, they will buy again. They will attempt again, based on what they think that their likelihood of winning is, and then what, of course, the payout will be. One of these times I'll have figured out how to create a cropped box. Like I said, since I'm not experienced at overlay and this, that, and the other, and Twitch and all these other things that people like to stream, like Fortnite and stuff like that, right? Since I know nothing about it, so you're having to cobble together, barely watchable display. Barely watchable display. So what am I? You know. This is just for stalling's sake, right? So people who have actually, you know, so I'm sitting there in a public place and I'm playing poker and watching my phone because I'm, you know, sitting there watching this, right? At any hour of the day, right? Any hour of the day. And so I'm not really making comments. Maybe I'm doesn't. Maybe it looks like I'm not paying attention. I wouldn't go that far that I'm not paying attention. Not paying attention is different than being bad at determining the outcome or, you know, in my favor, right? That's different. There can be biases. There can be biases on in everything, right? And manipulation of the bias is manipulation then in poker. You know, I've got a good read on the guy. You know, I knew that's what he had. You know, or other types of stuff there. You know, really, I'm talking about this grid. You're trying to communicate some different probabilities here of being on this grid, right? To assess so that you're giving them pause and doubt or some other idea about how they're sitting on this probability of grid, right? And then, you know, in a micro sense, right? In a one hand, one card, one street situation, you know, it's always this, is it not? Now you can understand all the differences or actually the similarities, right? If you take a look at this, the simplest building block of this grid, the simplest, right? I mean, this is just the sum of all of these, right? Well, each of these attachment points is a payout. So now you can easily attach it, right? Effective stack size, stack depth, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm measuring these probabilities about when people can benefit or get hurt, right, from a financial perspective. And the number of applications is basically unlimited. It is unlimited. Absolutely. I'm going to show you this, you know, very complicated looking thing. It's going to look exceptionally complicated. Where are we? Don't know where it is. I know on other streams they've got music going on, but that's quite a different thing. That is quite a different thing. So if we take these probabilities, for example, and expand it, right? I'm gonna bring it up for you. Let's just see here. I know on the grid somewhere, if this were suited, I'd probably go with it. And by go with it, I just call off, but not unsuited. So, So there's no good way to play jacks. We're about to find out. Small blind jacks. So I'm going to have to bet, right? Clearly I have to bet. You know, all else equal, you know, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is fourth best pair. We can't mess around, right? We cannot mess around. So we're going to go to here. We would rather him fold from here, right? Or hit a jack. See, the 60 blinds, you know, it's too much if we brick. I'm just call. This is unconventional, right? The book is going to tell you not to do this because I'm exposing myself to being raised on side check. Just played by the book here. The problem here is that he has a queen, right? Queen bets and then raises. Right? Ace, queen, king, queen. And now I could be led down the path to ruin. I raised, he bet. He raised. So, you know, controversial there, right? But you can I would have been crushed. I'd have to conclude that there's not going to be a lot of jokes in here, right? Ultimately, these paired persons, one way or the other, you know, are no worse than I on average, right? That or they don't have anything better to do with $500. I got lots of things that I could do with $500. That was a bit unfortunate. So it's been pretty rough here, right? I mean, difficult, as you would expect, right? Which is that I came in understanding that I was less experienced than the average player. In addition to that, you know, we've had some pretty peculiar combinations, right? The person right to my right flopped a set. Ugh. Flopped a set of eights when I had top pair and made 2 pair on the turn. That's not that fun. You know, I have aces versus queens on a, you know, with an all club flop. That's not that fun. Got to think that he had a queen. If ace queen. Certainly ace queen possible. King queen, king queen, maybe not. Ace queen, ace jack, then bluff. I don't know, something like that. Either way, I have to fold, or you know, like call it off, and the stream ends. At some point, we're gonna get there because I'm gonna be tired of talking. Right? So yeah. That's very that can certainly occur. That can certainly occur. The flip side is, you know, I've got to also, you know, while I'm making fun of myself, which I'm very comfortable in doing, you know, I'm serious enough, you know, after writing this book and then having it revised with 200 endnotes, right? I don't think that people think that I'm not serious. That said, while I'm joking about the fact that I would never part with $500, we're here now. We're here now, and there is upside if you end up doing well. There is upside doing well. And so now the fact that I didn't pay the $500, that also has to kind of be erased. Which isn't that easy, actually, right? Human nature, right? I'm here on par with everyone else who has also paid $500. Maybe I should take this, not joking around. Maybe I should be actually concentrating a bit more on people's activity. Oh, there's that. So now, as a result of that last lost hand with jacks here, I've sunk down quite a bit further here. Right, and you can see it there on the lower part of your screen. And this is what I'm saying is that, as many people would know, right, poker's boring. Right? This particular variation of poker is boring. And $500 a non-zero number. Says result. You got to be patient. Wait for your chance. The problem with that is that I'm not Gus Hansen. So I have no other path to get to the winner other than ace. Right? I can't get another path to the winner. Right? I'm thinking through this generically. It can't get there. I have no choice. I have to fold. I fold. Ace. Ace would have won. Obviously. So very good players are going to be like, okay, well, this is still, you still have 100 big blinds. It's so early. I'm probably going to, not end up, unless I like hit some crazy hands or some crazy combinations to do very well. I'm not interested in like streaming for like 9 hours. That's the other thing. Well, I'm not lasting for 9 hours. Well, I hope I do, but right. So, oh yeah, after the fact, I have top pair. Well, after the fact doesn't matter, right? Monday, just like personal finance, right? Monday morning quarterbacking is of almost no use. Monday morning quarterbacking on randomness is of no use. Monday morning quarterbacking because you had the wrong setup and understanding about how it worked. That you could have done something about, right? 4-9 offsuit prior to the fact is trash. So as a result, even if that card shows up, doesn't matter. And it's not that simple to keep in mind. I don't love this. I don't love anything about the pattern of play at the moment, to be candid with you. I'm just going to sit here conservatively and just wait it out. So I'm going to fold here. Although I fully understand that it is very likely that the poker jocks will want to at least have a call here. I get it. Right? That would make sense. If this were a club, or if this were ace of diamonds, I call. And I'll make this point out, which is that, somebody says people mock that when people do something and they claim it was suited, you know, as if that is zero, or like that made it justified what they were doing, and then people mock it. Look, your probability over here has improved because of the same suit that you'd gotten flush by, let's call it 1 out of 4. For whatever it was, it improved by 1 out of 4 from the base probability to 25% more. In a game this narrow, where the margins are that narrow, that's the difference. It can be, absolutely. You know, and the thing is that it's fun to make fun of this, that, or the other, and I get all that. I get all that. Right? But I'm going to just point this out to you, and we're going to get to it in just a moment. Right? That, oh, you know, in the real world, you know, people are like, you know, tens and tens of percents apart from each other. You know, I'm way ahead, or this, that, or the other. You know, in other words, oh, well, I'm much better off, or, you know, like the difference between first and second place is like, you know, a big difference. Okay, so we're starting to fall behind here from probably not being aggressive enough without very good cards. So we're going to have to hang out here and be patient, I think. I do believe that's the case. Although this is not great card, you know, the randomness here is not landing up here with good stuff, and I got pushed off that Jack's hand. I may have to bomb somebody off a pot. That's probably my guess. Coming up soon is probably something non-standard, is probably my guess. So the guy who, so you can see what ends up happening, right, is that although I got pushed off Jacks, was that necessary? You know, after watching these hands pass by, I may have been bluffed off that spot. Reasonable backfitting given future facts and the fact that I don't know who that is or how he plays. Anyway, let's just take a look at this. You know, so we get this thing where people are like, oh, well, you know, in financial matters, like all the, you know, the variances are, you know, huge, are enormous. Let's check this out. Yeah, chill out. You're not missing anything. Spades. Open-ended hit on the river. Value betting in spades. This guy tanking for what? Sense. Maybe. Let's take a look at here, right? I mean, so I moved this here intentionally, right? You think that the edges are small or, you know, some like huge just because we've changed it to something like, you know, the valuation of investments and portfolios, and, you know, my portfolio manager is the greatest thing since sliced bread, or my advisor is great or terrible. Okay. Using machines staffed by the best in the world. Take a look. It's not the absolute number minus 17.95, right? That's year to date by BlackRock. World's largest asset manager. World's largest. Okay. Vanguard. Everyone's heard of Vanguard? Look how different. 17.75. 0.2%. 0.2%. On $100, that's 20 cents. So the idea that, oh, this is some like random exercise of, you know, not, and what are they doing? They're doing this, the thing that, the grid. All right. We're going to have to bet here. I do need a little bit of cooperation here from distribution, from what you poker jocks call card distribution here. You know, every time I've had a good hand, I've been put in awful. Okay, this time it's suited. I'm going to expect him to call, actually. Is he just playing around? So, if he's got a set of twos, I'm going to lose, right? But we're going to go with this. This could be the end of the stream. About like 3 minutes. Let's have like a 5 of diamonds. If I were cagier and experienced here, I would just check. But actually, I'm going to try to nail him. Jack 9, ace, queen, king, queen. Okay. So if he has Jack 9, he wins, right? But I think we're going to just go with it. I got him. Oh, I got counterfeited. Oh my God. I thought I lost. I thought I lost. Somehow, this is a problem with when you don't play online, is I don't play online, right? So what ends up happening is the end of the hand comes out and then it speeds out, right? I'm not sitting there going, oh, this, that, or the other. The stream lives. The stream lives, which is a good thing or a bad thing. You get to hear, or, you know, which may be a good thing. You can hear my nasal Midwest tone. Yeah, nasal Midwest tone. So that actually wasn't the car, you know. 3 pair is usually not a very good hand. Just be candid with you right now. 3 pair is not a very good hand. He's probably shocked a bit that I snap called him without it. I told you that I was just going to go with it. So, you know, at certain points in time, and this is, we're back to, you know, this, you know, lattice over here. right? At certain points in time, you could have done everything right, and still the outlier outcome occurs. There's nothing you can do about it, right? There's nothing you do. And to poker players, they just go, well, that's the nature of the exercise. You know what happens in financial matters? The insurance company's trying to rip me off. Oh, it doesn't pay for anything. What? Right? And again, this is a situation, right? I would have taken the extra 25% of the probability if suited, but here, what are you going to win? How can you win? What, 8-9, 7-7? You know. So you can see what I'm saying, right? Which is that professional poker player wouldn't even think. It's like, okay, well, I'm just beat. Right? This person had king queen, very good hand pre-flop. I'm crushed, right? My 10 queen, except for 10 queen comes on the flop. So it's a lucky flop. If maybe it was skillful that I called that, you could hear me debate about, what was he doing there? But then once you get there, you have to understand you've got to get, So I'm calling here, which is a little thin. We'll have to see. So now this is like totally useless, right? If he, we'll have to see, right? Do I have any way of winning this hand? And again, I'm just thinking about this lattice over here. Well, what's the path of what has to come out here or here, and betting where I end up winning? Is it any out of 9.4? No, it's not. It's easy. All right. And that's, I think that that they say that the game's not like convoluted or set up in some weird way. Oh yeah. How many times are we going to get these very good hands here in question? So I mean, clear raise, but how much is the raise? We're just going to go with the minimum raise. So they had worse hands. Thankfully, I don't want to see a flop. And the people who play poker with jacks, I'm very, very sure understand what I just said, right? Shout out to my man, Ted. We got my favorite hand here, Ted. He's not on the stream, I'm pretty sure. I don't think he plays poker anymore, unfortunately. Nice young man. Somebody I would consider a friend. Really nice person. We've got a history on this, at small, very, very small stakes games. This being my pet hand here. Anyway, I'm going to fold it here. I'm going to send him a text. Not bad, not terrible. Not worth this. Not worth this. So we've got some probabilities, right? And again, back to poker, right? Which is ultimately you're assigning a price to your lattice. Are we not? At every point in time? right? And very similar to the way that health insurance before Obamacare, right? The only way you could continue to keep health insurance without medical underwriting is have it the year prior. How's that different than, okay, I can't fold the after the flop because I have potential, but the only way to know and realize what it is or to observe it is to call the flop. Queen 10 of diamonds, right? Barely good enough to keep calling the race. Instead, what it is, well, this wasn't fair or that rule's unfair. What? Right? Somebody assigns some other type of description which has nothing to do with the grid, and because they don't understand the process, they assign the wrong language to it. I promise you the actuarial scientists have it worked out. Let's agree with that on that one, right? Right? This is no politics zone. Don't say that it's Obama's fault or don't say that it was Trump's fault or this or other stuff. No. This is about the calculation here. Right? The rules are known, the payouts known. It's in writing. It is legal contract. The sellers are not breaking the terms and conditions of a legal contract. Not happening. In other words, right, and I'm going to we'll show it here. Let's flip this around. If they don't pay out here, they've got to answer to a regulator. And then they don't get any, right? Because this is the amount that you are paying from the black line to the flat blue line, right? Probably okay, but I'm going to wait. Is this positive? No. So, right, if you take a look at this graph on your left underneath my picture, what do you have? The distance from the black line down to the blue line is in cash flow terms. This graph is cash flow terms, right? So you are the blue line. So you're paying, meaning minus the distance from the black line, right? That's the same thing as your premium. That's the same thing as you calling the flop. Is it not? Tell me what the difference is. Tell me. There's no conceptual difference, right? Your payout is this angled blue line, which is contingent on what? On some other set of random variables that you did not control. The similarities are actually stunning. We're going to keep going here. Seems like I've survived enough to keep making, advanced, more comments here. I'm going to have to call here. Yep. I'm calling because I'm in the button, and this good-ish, not great, good-ish. But 2.5 and 5. Okay. That's a very unfortunate that these are all hearts. But obviously, I have open-ended straight flop. I'm going to bluff the heart here and see if I can get him off. Yeah. So, I actually have a hand, but more importantly, I'm in the button and I can bluff the heart here because if he calls there, where is he? What happens if I had hearts? He can't really raise. He's stuck. So I made it more difficult for him to do anything fairly standard, right? To people who are inexperienced at poker, that would be, what in the world is he doing? To people who are experienced at poker, they're like, oh, Jay the Simpleton is describing a poker hand. What can I say? Okay, back over here to the left. So now you can understand it, right? And now you can see, just another example of how people are screwing up all the terminology. This blue line is actually dental insurance, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, right? You're paying a premium. You get some benefits if something goes wrong at your home, partial damage due to fire, you crashed your, fender bender, etc., etc. You need a crown, right? The angle of the payout, that's my job to explain to you. It's my job to get you the best angle, sharpest angle higher, given how much you've parted money for in premium. How's that different from getting max value out of, whatever betting structure you did in poker? How's that different? Right? Again, poker jocks out there, they're just shrugging their shoulders at my last comment, without really have thought through the fact that I've made this analogy between dental, homeowners, auto insurance. Because you see the second line? The second flatter line then is the fact that it's capped. The benefit amount when you have a car, right? Let's just say you have a, I don't know, Hyundai Sonata. Well, if you have a Sonata, you don't get $3 billion if your car is totaled, right? Well, truth is stranger in fiction, everybody. I've made the second break, something I very, very much did not expect. So, on we go. I'm going to shut this off. I'm going to show you this. Find that the carriers have overcharged. I can't actually even explain it. Let's see here. I can't actually even explain it.
Very old friends.
Back in a few minutes, everybody.
I wouldn't say friends, Dolores. I wouldn't say that at all.
I may have to dump my...
All right, good morning, everybody. Sunday, the 26th. Westworld returns this evening. If you think the stuff that I'm talking about is confusing, it's got nothing on Westworld. Or maybe we are actually living in, a real-life version of Westworld. Anyway, my name's J.O. You can see the stuff over there on your screen. I'm the author of Maximize Your Medicare, amongst other things. So many headlines, so many fragments of information. It is understandably very, very difficult to pick out what is newsworthy and what is distortion. So let's just start with the Supreme Court. I'm not going to address the ruling of the other day, the headline ruling. Okay. I would say, however, that if certain medical procedures are no longer lawful in certain locations, and there's insurance which covers something which is no longer lawful, seems to me that the premium should be lower, right? Because the carrier is no longer going to provide the payout in benefits for that particular procedure. Again, I'm not going to weigh in on the value judgment on whether or not that was a good decision or not. Sharing the opinion is going to, just literally distract people from keeping their wits about themselves as I explain what is actually going on these different topics. That's the reason. The Supreme Court actually ruled on 2 additional issues over the past couple of weeks. The first one, that rejects United Healthcare appeal of Medicare Advantage overpayment rule. So what this basically is in a nutshell is the fact is that the CMS has the right to audit. And if they find that the carriers have overcharged, they have the right to claw back the payments. So I don't usually share my opinion, but here is my opinion here in a very unusual circumstance. We completely agree with this ability by the CMS. I'm sorry. And the reason is that there is going to be controversy around Medicare Advantage. It is too big to avoid controversy. 50% of people on Medicare Advantage in some form or fashion. Now, here, under a very good, overall a well-written article, a good explanation, is this. A Kaiser Family analysis determined Medicare Advantage cost the government $321 per person than in a traditional Medicare, adding $7 billion in spending. This is only a partial explanation, and by partial, that is the same thing as incomplete, and another way of saying incomplete is wrong. The reason is that both the Kaiser Family Foundation and this particular blog eliminate the fact that all Medicare Advantage have an additional feature, which is to cap the out-of-pocket maximum expenses for policy owners. So this analysis here, which I have read, and these studies, they're not hiding what they've done. Okay, if this particular analysis was done correctly and completely, they would have also figured in what the option value of the fact there's an out-of-pocket maximum would be. That doesn't exist in this analysis. And there's your issue, right? I mean, they've left out the key feature for me in, not surprisingly, this book, right? And in my videos on Medicare Advantage, Medigap, comparing them, what the thing is, and my explanations, et cetera, in the media, have all been about the fact that, people want to throw a rock at Medicare Advantage. I get it. People want to say it's wasteful. They're denying services, et cetera. I get it. And, on an individual case-by-case basis, could those all be true? The answer is yes. Could there be upcoding? The answer is yes. In fact, there is evidence that there is upcoding. And why? Because if you take a look, you will find Medicare Advantage carrier settles with the CMS. Uh-oh. Right? Settles without admitting wrongdoing. All right. We back. So somehow I've made it past 2 breaks. Well beyond what most persons probably expected, including myself. Like I said, that is of course the allure of poker, right? Which is that, the degree of randomness is pretty high, and as a result, bad players or inexperienced players, can get a result, and I'd call this a result. It's about what, as good as I could have reasonably expected. So, we're back over here, right? There is no back over here. What happened? Right. So you can see why when I said at the beginning of the stream, I'm like, okay, I'm no good at poker. Average, I understand the rules. Yeah, true. My assessment, however, looks a heck of a lot like
what Medicare option I should choose. Why? I'm trying to lower this amount and get you the sharpest angle as possible. Now, and then the nuances begin. Right. For example, you can remember before the break, I mentioned the fact that, okay, you have a Hyundai Sonata, right? You've got a Honda Accord. You total it. You don't get $300,000. You don't, right? The maximum you're going to get is the replacement value for that car of that year, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you get a new car because the wow. Brutal. It's relaxing to fold. All right. Unlike other times, by other times I've ever sat down or whatever, sometimes, you just think that things are not going well, or, your randomness of your cards and the community cards just is not favorable. And, you can feel, your spidey sense tells you you're going to lose. Right. Oddly enough, today, I don't have that. I do not have that today. Not yet, anyway. Not yet. Who's bigger than me at this table? I'm concentrating on, making sure that the output to the stream is right. So I don't have tons of... Oh, this is, I think, better, right? This way you're not hearing the beep beeps. Anyway, so what you have here, right, is that you've got a capped... Well, what's the difference between that and an effective stack? Everyone? What is really the functional difference between that and effective stack to you poker jocks? Right, to poker jocks, they would understand this terminology immediately. Well, in insurance, auto insurance, dental insurance has the same thing, right? $1,500, $1,000 annual benefit maximum. Home, you have a house, you have a 500 square foot made of straw. You're not getting $700,000 if the big bad wolf blows your house down. You're not. Simple, very simple. You're capped. So because you're capped, what happens? The amount that you're willing to part with is lower. Oh. Somebody's all in with like $10. Your upside's capped. So what, you want to pay $5 to win at most $10 with no further upside at all in the hand? What are you doing? And someone who's really bad at poker, they'll oh, well, you've got an ace. Why didn't you call? Dummy. Right? I got no interest if our upside is hugely capped and some other person has 0 chips and they're throwing it in on lower probability events. So even if I'm ahead, you don't get the angle because your payout's capped. You're done. You're out. Even if you have an ace 5, ace 7, what good is it really doing you? Obviously, Jack 10 suited is obvious. I'm just going to call here. It's probably slightly weak. I'm sure you jockeys out there are saying, this is too weak. Because now what am I going to do here? I can probably represent a king, though. She's through a bluff. Let's just check. Probably bluff at this one, though. I'm trying, yeah. So he's got nothing. I'm in position. I bet I win, right? Even though he could have queen, in which case I lose. So nothing too hard. All right. Could be the end of the stream soon. Could it be the end of the stream soon? No. Only if PD Boy puts me all in. Someone's going to have to nail me pretty good here. It's the best hand in poker, everyone. That's what I heard. People ask what your favorite hand is. Oh, I like King Queen suited. King Queen suited. I'm going to have to ride or die with this. So 85 is a pretty big number. We're not messing around. I'm not going to mess around here. I don't mess around, right? I mean, like I said, because of the fact that I already know that I'm not the most experienced person here. I'm not going to be the most experienced person here. This is something I did not want to see, right? I did not want to see multi-way people calling. Okay. No. We have set. Is this set again? Same guy? Same position? This is bet. If he raises, I'm going to put them all in. This should be a fold. Is he going to have ace jack? Yeah. Makes sense. Right. This isn't... You know, I'm intentionally, so let me just tell you this, that, you know, the professionals out there are would have criticized that as too large a bet. Right? But I don't know any of these players. Right? At the previous table, I kind of saw other persons, you know, and they're going to say, okay, well, you're not getting full value out of your hand, you're in position, etc., etc. I'm the other way from the people running poker vlogs, right? Well, I'm not doing something for entertainment value. I'm doing stuff to explain the lattice and the applications underneath my picture. Right? It could have very well be, if that I'm not actually streaming, that I actually bet a third. Sure. Right. I mean, what, you know, I'm just sitting here psycho babbling, right? But the reality is that what did he have? Ace, other than ace jack, of which I've got two aces. Right. So, what do you get? Kings? Kings. I raised. He could have re-raised there. That wasn't it. Queens. You know, it's just not. And then it can't be queens. Kings, queens, king, queen, ace, jack, ace, queen. Maybe have to call the 8. You know, that was probably too optimistic for him or her to even call there. And I was fine with just walking away. I had to, because there were these other people after following me, so I raised it up a little bit more than what I might have normally. I'm here for entertainment value and to talk about the grid and to talk about these. You know, for example, if I were a very, very experienced player, if I were a professional player, I probably... I'm just going to fold here. I have a headache from talking this much. I talked for like 90 minutes today about financial markets. Please... Oh, I totally forgot all that stuff, right? I mean, this isn't a pity party by any means, but you can understand how, like, not great my life is at certain times. Right? You're talking with your poker buddies about range this, range that, how deep, what position, et cetera, et cetera. How many players, blah, blah, blah. ICM, this, that, and the other technical thing. And the other people around you barely know the rules to poker. They don't know what you're talking about. Well, in the same way, you can understand that, oh, I'm talking about the technicals, sitting in my book, right? They don't understand, first of all, they don't understand this payout diagram. Right? They don't understand the payout diagram. To give you an idea how far off base it is, and now you can understand what I'm saying. Right? You can understand it. My number one pet peeve in this topic, the topic of my book, oh, I don't understand how health insurance work. I asked my medical doctor. I grew up in medical household. I guarantee you, my beloved late father didn't understand this payout diagram in these terms. Didn't. Academically, could he have figured it out after I showed him the formulas that create this? Yeah, I mean, yes, of course. If you're a medical doctor and I showed you the math of it and you didn't understand, then I would be scared to death. Right? Meaning that it's not, you could certainly learn what it is. That is trivial, mathematically trivial. But understanding the attachment, but the everyday person who has gone to the bar and said, oh, I don't understand my health insurance. So I asked my doctor, and my doctor told me, carrier X, and I listened to it, and then it's worked out great. So my doctor is the insurance expert. What? Right. That's the same thing as, oh yeah, well, I've called, I knew that 3-outer was coming and it came and I won. See, I was right. What? That didn't make you right. That made you lucky. Poker player, you know this. Right? Poker players know this. I mean, nothing I just said to a poker player. Again, I'm not going to be spewing out certain facts or ideas about poker that, experts aren't going to know 2 seconds. Of course they know. All right. So I'm going to call here. I'm going to hope he gets out of the way. And I'm hoping. So, this is speculative a bit, right? We'll see. I'm certainly not going to do more than call. If I get raised, I'm going to fold. This doesn't look favorable. Can I get them to wait and run out on spades or hit a 2? This is check. Come on, Petey boy, blast away. Hard for him to blast away. Does it anyway. The reality is, if he doesn't have an ace and I raise, I can certainly defend a raise here. In fact, Poker Pro here may speculate and do that. I'm not a pro. So I fold. He has weak ace. Does he even bother? He's got to protect his hand against a spade draw. I guess. If that were the case, that's kind of a big bet, right? There's what, six odds, something like that. There's 2, 4, 6, 7. I don't know. We won't know now. We don't know now. It's the second best hand in poker. All right. Big Mr. J. Do we have your number? Could be the end of the vlog. Could be the end of the poker vlog. Got to know that, right? I mean, somebody could here rip it all in here, in which case I'm going to call. No doubt. If I've got big hands here, I probably just flat, right? Because they're not sure whether or not, they know I got a big hand and I'm sitting here at the, basically the effective button, right, in the cutoff. So, my chips are going in, don't get me wrong. I mean, something very convoluted would have to come in on the, 3 queens on the flop or something like that. Otherwise, even if there's an ace, I think that my chips are going in, especially if it's not against PD Boy. Right? If it's against PD Boy, I'll have to think through if he's going to try to squeeze out all of the entire pot here, then I might have to think about it. But if it's the others, no. And so everyone dumps. I kind of want, one of these times, at some point, I'm going to want to have just a call. I'm going to end up, just so you know, right? In other words, you've seen me overbet here the biggest pairs. And I've done so, kind of like the inverse version, which, because in interest of the stream, because I still have points to make on the financial application of what you know to be poker techniques to financial understanding of different topics. Is somebody really betting with a 7 or an 8? No, but someone could have 9, 10, or someone could have diamonds, so we'll just check. How fast am I going to fold if somebody bets? Can I auto fold here? I'm not going to auto fold just because of the, optics. I'm not going to auto fold because of the optics here. I use this person to think. Yeah, I don't care. Reality is I don't care, but I was folding 100% 100 times out of 100 in that instance. No doubt. Right? That was so easy. Very easy snap fold. There's nowhere to go. It's not a good flop, even a worse turn. So chalk it up to randomness, and that's it. I had probably very, very likely had the best hand. I could have raised this person bet. I can raise. He probably doesn't call that once he then sees the renewed odds, right? In other words, his renewed odds at that point would have been different, right? Now all of a sudden he's thinking about what we have, and more specifically, most importantly, me, because he's out of position. I'm in position. This person started. I raise. He folds. Then it's down to him. Is it worth for him to call? Probably not. So it's probably a mistake. That's probably a mistake. I took the conservative route here, and again, the poker pros are going to be like, you needed to have raised there. I'm pretty sure that if I look at this is why I don't study the grid, because otherwise I'll feel even worse about the way that I play. Right? Which is I'm going to look at it and I was like, oh, you're supposed to raise, and it's like, oh, good. I'm quite certain that that's what the grid would have said. And this kind of does come back to my point, remember, which is, 2.5 hours ago, what I was saying is that when it comes to financial matters, it is not necessarily a requirement that you understand what actuarial science does. But you do need to understand what the inputs might look like. there's a channel with 50 videos on different topics that would tell you about that, right? There's a book. I'm coming out with the second book. I've signed a publishing deal for a second book. Don't tell the publisher I'm here on this video stream right here. Anyway. By the way, I'm like months behind on this book. This is like a disaster. Oh my god. By the way, here's for you young persons out there, thinking about what kind of career to have and this kind of stuff. Don't be an author if you want to make money. If that's your endpoint, find something else. You're welcome. I mean, the number of different toll takers in that business and stuff like that is incredible. So, I'd call myself mission accomplished here, which is I haven't made a total ass out of myself here on the stream. Well, for the most part, I made a mistake on Ace Jack. I got nailed by a set when I had two pair. Survived it. What other mistakes here? Probably overbet my aces and kings. Slightly. And that's probably that's an experience thing. Right? That's an experience thing. I don't really have much interest in playing this hand. This is, cash. I like playing this kind of a hand, right? One gap away, one card away, high up. I like it, but don't care. I don't care, but I'm curious. All right, so this is why some days you sit there and your cards are so bad that you have like no hope of winning hands. Well, now, excellent tournament hand. Excellent tournament hand. But, wrong position. And, okay, so now here's the issue, right? We got 1, 2. We're in the worst position of 4 players here. So I have to take the initiative, no doubt. Right, so now it's a question about how much are we going to bet. We're going to have to bet a lot, actually, in order to get the jokers out. That doesn't mean we're going to win. Right? We're going to have to accept the randomness here if we something like funky flop. This person's probably calling. Right? Based on that, what he did against when I had jacks, he's probably calling. I don't know, we'll better watch out. He may ship. No, he doesn't ship. That's actually the outcome I wanted, absolutely. Right. Certainly the outcome I wanted. I think. If I had a crystal ball on what the flop was going to be, maybe I'd have a different opinion, right? If you get anything out of today, see these websites down here, this bottom one with my name.substack.com. There's a free and paid newsletter. You should absolutely, and this is the thing is, this goes to show you how bad the way that people are told about financial matters is, right? Someone I know says, oh, that's Jay. He's a Medicare guy. I haven't mentioned Medicare other than holding my book. I'm talking about techniques about understanding how the lattice works, which apply to auto insurance, health insurance, including financial markets. We've not gotten to that yet. That means anything without these variable payout structures is what I'm strictly educated and qualified to describe. It just so happens that this book is that thin slice. Okay? The reality is that the reason I've had to write this ridiculous book is because of the fact that people are so far off base about what in fact financial stuff is and what goes into it. They think that poker is like roulette. Right? It's equally wrong that somebody would say, okay, well, this is just Jay, the Medicare person who happens to write a book. Just because my quotes are in the national press about Medicare has nothing to do with actually the skeleton of the components that I've described here over these past 2.5 hours. And now you can understand that with no script, et cetera, you can assess the probability of what's the likelihood that I made this entirety up off the top of my head and able to connect these dots in this way that you poker jocks can understand. Okay? The Substack has both a free and paid version. The free version is just yours, right? You can just see it for updates. I'm going to pull it up here at some point. I'm a very bad and very reluctant marketer of, professional services. But, the point is that most of the stuff here on the Substack on my newsletter is to correct the idea that health insurance is the same thing as healthcare, right? Which is akin to, gambling is the same thing, roulette is the same thing as poker. Cannot be, right? Can't be. And that's why I made this, that's why I wanted to create this stream. Right? Because I already know that if you're a poker enthusiast and you understand the logic to this, or if you are, one of these persons who is actually studying poker or playing poker professionally, et cetera, and, we'll have this analogy and you're going through this exercise, whether you actually know that you are or not. And now you understand my point entirely, right? So as poker fan, et cetera, while I'm sitting here at one of my 3 computers in this room, right, I'm running YouTube and listening to what other people are commentating and actually really the poker podcasts, not really, Greg goes all in, right? That's not really my thing. He's funny though. So, shout out to him. There's nothing against him, of course. But what it really is that I'm listening to the persons and the reasoning that they're using for different things. And actually, so shout out to Solve for Why, right? Because, one of the videos I made, the video that I showed at the beginning of this podcast, right, or of this stream, was about Tice versus Perkins. Landon Tice, of course, part of the cast of Solve for Why. And people would have thought, okay, well, that's a mistake. He fumbled it, et cetera. Actually, my video, that is not the conclusion, actually. Not at all. Right? Maybe the setup, that was wrong. For that, he deserves some grief, right? He earned the grief, he's gotten it. He's gotten more than enough, right? Once you got into the spot, however, then you reevaluate it from here. And 25% done. He needed to get to a spot. He can't get there given this distribution, given the fact that, he's underevaluated his opponent for whatever set of reasons. He mucked. Resetting the stacks doesn't work. Nine's too high. Muck. Right? You have pocket tens. The board shows up, you one suit, different color, king high. Guess what? You muck. Doesn't matter if you pre-flop raised. Doesn't. You found out later that the facts weren't exactly what you had believed. That's it. But anyway, back to Solve for Why. Inside the podcast, actually, Matt Berkey, who runs it, you know, certain sentences that he says here. He actually, I commented on his on one of his podcasts because he was actually talking about health insurance and the fact that at some point in time his net worth was too high. He can't afford, or no, it's not prudent to avoid. I'm supposed to call here. I'm talking. I'm distracted here. Calling's too weak. Raising here subjects me to getting killed, so I fold. Pretty sure that's a call. No, I'm pretty sure that's a raise. I could have used this as my standard 2.2 big blind raise. Pretty sure. Right. And try to get these other guys to fold. Because I'd raised pretty much other big hands, which were not aces or kings, to just 2.2. So then, I've kind of, just like everyone else kind of has done, right? I mean, they've got their standard set. People are watching and making note, as I am of their play. This is like auto folds here. Back to Berkey. So, he's talking about health insurance. So, yeah. Right. I mean, there's nothing surprising. The logic, given his background, right, as poker professional, I shrugged. Right, his logic here was completely, in line with this. Right, because if you just take this, and I can't do it right now because I'm bad at, at OBS and the manipulation of these graphics. But I'm sure if you flip around this hockey stick, right? These are just two hockey sticks glued together, right? One going this way and then the other one going in the opposite direction, kind of merged. That's all this is. This is two hockey sticks right here. The net sum of two hockey sticks, right? So you've bought insurance against your house. It keeps going up, but you haven't bought an infinite amount of payout. You've bought a limited amount of payout, right? Which is the same thing as you're long an unlimited payout and you're short this cap, right? So this is actually C equals A plus B. Not this A and not this B is showing on their graph, but you can see my point, right? So if you just draw pictures, you will see that this is the sum of two. Now what's going on here? Didn't make sense for him to call. There's a big free flop going on. What's that? Should probably look at that hand. I'm gonna have to worry about it later. So I'm going to bet here, obviously. This is the standard bet size. I want to see what he's... And I'm just going to call. Somebody big here. They can push him out. Let's just see the flop. This may be a little too weak. I'm pretty sure the poker jocks are going to say that this is too weak. they're not saying so anymore. Right? So this is luck. Right? I probably was a little too weak here. I'm gonna bet something because someone's got a jack, I've got a better jack. They don't want to keep playing, and then I've got nuts to a 9 or a club, I bet. All right, any old 6 of clubs or three of clubs. Let's have a 3 of clubs. Boy, if somebody rips. Ah, crap. This is a very, very tight fold. Right? These guys are trying to go for broke. They've ace jack, 2 pair. I'm on draws. Yeah. 7, 8, right? Right. I would have not won. Right? He's got worse flush. I've got nut flush. He had flopped 2 pair. By the time it came to third person, that's why I had to fold, right? I mean, if this were like a live game and, we're playing for $100, you know, my chips wouldn't be able to fly across the line fast enough, right? This is not that. This is not that. So I didn't like doing it. I get asked to do lots of stuff I don't want to do. This isn't the top 10. So here we go. Back over here. I'm going to show you the punchline here. Is it the punchline? Let's just see. All right, I had to go see the financial markets. You should definitely go and check out the what's going on here? Can't fold this fast enough. Yeah. I'm going to do this. What window is this showing? Oh no, I don't want to show that. There we go. Hey, cool. What's going on here? So, in what planet was I going to call here and then hit, have a bunch of these possibilities? All right. I got to know that these could all be going in at some point. Nope. Tournament goes on. Probably my opening size probably going to decline. Which makes sense, right? 1 or 2 to 2. 2.2. Somehow I clicked 2.5 because that's just where the buttons were. I should have. I normally raised 2.2. That time was 2.5. I'm not sure if that was the reason that people fold. You can never, fully know. So I'm gonna start to bet. I've had a poker stream before. I think there's one other, right, for a smaller tournament. Also the same entry, the same reasoning, meaning that, I qualified. I don't remember I didn't know how to hit delay, and I used YouTube. And I'm pretty sure that what ended up happening is some people now know that the stream is up. Because after 2.5 hours, someone can easily go onto YouTube and see what I've raised with. Right, you're not talking about a small tournament here, right? This is a big tournament, for online, from what I can understand, right? I wouldn't know since I don't part with that real amount of money on my own. Right? So I would have no problem if they were motivated to chop. Wow, you got totally bailed out. This person got massively lucky over here. No, it's like trash. So again, I'm just let's see. Yay. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Man, I've been here 3 hours. The problem with poker, of course, is like why I didn't play golf when I was a kid. I almost played college tennis. Couldn't play golf because it took 4 hours, right? Auto fold here. Okay, so let's just see if I can show you this. Not this. Unfortunately, since I can't crop, since I don't know how to crop on OBS, I would show you the futures markets. I'd have no problem with doing that. Actually, we will get to financial markets probably in the next hour, right? You needed to have heard the explanations as I've presented them, because when I show you how the professional market, not your stockbroker, the professional market looks at stuff, it will be consistent with what I've talked about for the last 2 hours, 45 minutes. Unscripted, by the way. Unscripted. Right. And if you don't understand that there's a difference between, having a script that somebody polished and just being able to roll off this set of facts in this combination with these explanations at this level of detail without having full command, then you're just never going to understand, right? I mean, that's the point here, is that Jay's corner's here because I do believe that people actually do have the common sense to get it. Absolutely. Right? Some person has experienced, further outliers than, I will ever know. Of course. Right. As I said, even though I grew up in medical housing, that didn't mean that I was born with silver spoon in my mouth. We're just not like, certainly comfortable and certainly, the undisputed support of my parents. But, well, my mother would still call me abject failure 100 times out of 100, to use poker parlance. she'll call me abject failure 100% of the time. So anyway, I'm going to show you some of this other stuff here, using a bigger display. We're going to get to it pretty quickly, I want to say. Let's. All right. The rest of the crowd has the word that I'm not raising/limping. Well, so I could be no good here, right? Any jack. But I've got hearts. I have to open-ended straight flush. He's probably calling. He's got full house. I think I have to pay him. Okay, I win. Still 137 players. I'm more comfortable playing a $5 tournament. This tournament would have been over. I would have been able to take a nap. This is like, I had like, like 5 adult beverages and like had a nap. The tournament would have been over. Well, largely because I've probably like shoved all my chips in, on nothing. Then again, I wouldn't have had the stream going either, right? All right, so okay. Well, that was a nice diversion. It's a nice diversion when you win, right? So let's Let's be candid. All right. You know, am I calling if this is 9, 10? Well, I'm not calling 14, right? I could have limped call 2-2 call, but 14. Some days I think that, you know, these machines, you know, you sign on, they assign you a parameter, and they say, okay, you know, today's your day, and, you know, with X bar of some number, and then they assign you also a degree of randomness and variability on top. Isn't that entirely possible? Seriously. Okay, so I'm just going to sit here. Gutter ball, queen, or a king? Is he going to pay if I hit a queen or a king or not? No, he's not. It's not full. And then I have a spade. Okay. Well, that was a little unfortunate. You know, the good thing is that I'm not a person that goes, you can say I should have called anyway, right? But that's different than me going, you know, that is different. All right, so we're going to talk about this here. This is, you know, this is the newsletter. When we come back from the break, here it is. Oh yeah, this morning I was up here with this. Right, the roller coaster of financial basics. This is about how actually I'm looking at financial markets, not financial advice. There's a reason that I'm sitting over there saying that, you know, opinions are my own, not financial advice. This morning here, I had a two-part session called with this, and, you know, it's only July, fasten seatbelts. I'll give you some insight on how the professional market does look at this. It's going to look a lot like a different extension of the lattice, a lot like it, you know, tremendous amount. That's just the way this world works, and you know that should come as no surprise to you, you poker jocks, after it's being revealed to you, not before, because the ingrained institutionalized system, right, is out there to distort for a set of reasons, and we'll talk about, you know, the Roger Goodell, you know, situation. You know, we'll leave this up here. Let's see if we can turn on the sound. Boop. Let's see now. There we go. All right, everybody. I knew we'd get it. There always seems to be something. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Jay's Corner. 10 a.m. I'm going to give ourselves about an hour today. Not to exceed an hour. I want to go see and watch young Rory here flag waver of the PGA to try to get the British Open, or the Open, I guess I should say. So I woke up at 6:30 and I said, "Oh, great, 3.5 hours, tons of time to prepare." Well, 9:30, I'm like, "Oh no, I've been sitting here for 3 hours, and now all of a sudden there's only half an hour left." Okay, we're not going to have a lot of talk about health insurance, Medicare, etc., etc. today. Not a lot, because the reality is we're in this quiet zone. There's still going to be noise, of course. We're going to have midterm elections. What I will say to you is the following, is that I'm not running for public office, and you'll forgive me for this next 30 seconds, which is, could I fix health insurance markets? The answer is yes. Could I fix the idea that the bond market would also simultaneously possibly be fixed? The answer to that is yes. The most stunning thing, we're going to come up to midterm elections soon. I believe that's what I've been told. I don't follow politics. Is that, you want to fix health insurance markets? Why are we asking the AMA? That makes no sense, right? Health insurance is a financial contract. We could get a fix to the entirety, which would drive down health insurance premiums dramatically, almost to the point that you could have almost such low cost options nationally that your uninsured percentage could continue to drop. And that's pretty audacious for me to say, but I'm that certain. That all said, no one's asking Jay. I'm just a guy sitting over here or standing over here on my corner. Up on your screen, so we'll take a break. I'll stop that. Okay. Up on your screen here, is Aha. We have no microphone. Told you I'm bad at this. All right, so I think we're going to actually fairly come close to the end of the stream. Right. We've been on for 3 hours, and I'm not here to dispute or debate. Petey boy, overly aggressive, stuck his neck out, got it chopped off, and now he's probably gone home. Yep. So, that's the thing is, it's fun and exciting to play this way, the way that he did, and then he got his face ripped off here, right? He's got to go home. And, that can happen. That can happen. And I could be next. We could be right here. I'm very, very unlikely to fold. I'm not in the mood here. I want him to ship on... Oh, dang it. I need to be a bit... I'm going to step on it here a bit, I think. And this is the problem, of course. Of course, cards may not allow you to step on it here, but I'm done. I have this passive period here. Just a bad habit. Bad. Okay, so now we're back here. Right. The audio was off. The microphone was off. So stocks for show, bonds for dough. People don't understand the denominator on that picture that I was showing. Okay? They don't understand it. They don't understand its significance. The market is many times bigger than the stock market. Nobody cares about stocks, to be candid with you, right? National Bank of Taiwan does not care about Facebook. They don't. Promise. The idea they care about your 100 shares of Peloton that you're down 70, 80, 90% on, don't care. They do not care. It's nowhere on the radar of stuff that's important. Yet, you get research reports. CNBC runs, 10-minute segments. I don't want to go like nuts. I promise you there's going to be, over this next week, you just watch how much time is devoted to Netflix earnings. Ridiculous. The big money doesn't care. They'll care if it starts hurting the stock market as a whole, which Netflix is too small and too insignificant to influence. Bigger even than that is the graph that you see here, which is foreign exchange. And the reason is that Mercedes-Benz has to pay back their dollar borrowing in dollar. And now guess what? In order to raise those dollars, they have to convert from euro, which now is 16% more than it was a year ago. 16%. Let's say you borrowed $100,000 for a mortgage. What happens if, oh yeah, by the way, actually, Mr. Jones, your principal amount is $116,000, not $100. Due next year. You ain't going to be happy. That's what's happening to Daimler-Benz. Nobody cares about Daimler-Benz. Why? They have enough money. Greece, Spain, Italy, they don't. They have big problems. They've borrowed in dollars. Now they've got to raise they've got to change a lot more euro that they were using to pay their pensioners in order to pay back the dollar that they borrowed from BlackRock. Again, think through how much bigger those dynamics must be than whether or not people are piggybacking their Netflix subscription. How irrelevant could you be compared to what I just described? Nevertheless, the information you are fed isn't proportional to the importance of what I've just described, right? It should be 55 minutes about Greece, Italy, Spain problems, paying back their dollar borrowing, and then 5 seconds on Netflix. That's not the way it's going to be. I promise you this coming week, it's going to be flipped around. I promise, 100%. Okay, I can't say 100%. 99.9%. Can't ever say 100%, right? On these tables. There's some better here. I'm also not that particularly worried, right? This is plenty enough blinds. The field is starting to shrink. The shorties are going to start pushing. The thing is, this table is not particularly short. Everyone's the same. One hand, the total
Ugh.
You can see how so for the persons who are not poker players, you can see how thankless this is, right? I've been playing for, what is it? 3 hours 45 minutes. We're still 88 players till you get a penny. Oh my god. Late registration's over. I'm in 61st place. Out of the money by 31. There are going to be differences because, you know, certain people, if you watch YouTube, they're going to say, okay, we're trying to build a huge stack because you're going for the win. Okay.